Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Childcare Director's Chair podcast. I'm your host, Erica Sacoccio, and I'm so happy you are here today. Happy Monday. I am so sorry I have not been up on the podcast for a couple days, and there's so many things have gone on. So I just came back from AELL conference, which was amazing. I had such a great time. The people there were fun and engaging, and I learned a lot. And then my friends, Carrie and Kate, I have to give them a shout out. They took care of me. I had a wisdom tooth pulled out on Wednesday, and I was on a plane on Thursday. And by Friday, I felt like I had gotten into a fight with Mike Tyson. So for those of you who have had a emergency wisdom tooth pulled out, you know what I'm talking about. And that's a pain. And you know what else is a pain? Call outs. When one person calls out sick, it can throw off your entire day. You need to quickly reorganize, shuffle staff, and ensure that you're still within legal ratios. And let's not forget the stress it puts on the remaining team. And the result, we all know, it's staff burnout, which can lead to even more call-outs, creating a vicious cycle. Then there's the impact on parents. If they notice instability in your center, their confidence may waver no matter how great you are. This is why it's essential to have a plan in place. And as I moved through that conference over the last couple of days, I heard it time and time again. So let's talk about, legal requirements ratio. Being in ratio means meeting the legal requirements for the number of caregivers per child in each age group. And these ratios vary. And it's typically, in my part of the country, infants 1 to 4, toddlers 1 to 6, preschoolers 1 to 9, school age 1 to 13, maybe 1 to 10 if there are 5-year-olds in the mix. And if you're not in ratio, you risk fines, closure, or even worse. How do you handle it when call-outs are so frequent? And I know so many of us are dealing with this, and it's Monday, so there's a good chance you're dealing with this today, right now, probably as you drive to work, probably before your shift to get to your center, because guess what? Your morning person called out. Traditional solutions, they still work. So let's talk about a few of those. A classic solution that we used prior to the pandemic were on-call floats. These are staff who are scheduled to be available, but not on shift unless needed. Make sure you still keep a small roster of floats for every age group, particularly in high-risk times like flu season or holiday breaks, that they're ready to step in when things go awry, because we know that they will. Another solution could be staggering shifts, as they can help cover peak hours without overburdening your staff. For example, instead of everyone working 8 to 4, have some staff come in at 7, others at 9, and this creates a natural overlap during drop-off and pickup times, ensuring that you are never short-staffed, especially during those high-demand moments like drop-off and pickup, where parents want to talk about their child's night before or any information that you might need to know for the day. And there's nothing worse than that when you're having that conversation, you're like having to keep cutting off the parent because little Johnny is, scaling the shelves, and you have to watch the children in your care. So don't set yourself up to be stressed out first thing in the morning. So let's be proactive. Now, cross-training your staff can also be a great way to help cover different age groups or roles. Like maybe you have to have your kitchen staff trained to help with classrooms in an emergency, or train your front desk staff person to pitch in when it's necessary. It's a great way to ensure everyone is flexible and prepared to step in when needed. Now, if you have a school-age program, which I'm very lucky I do, our school-age staff, some of them are trained to work with our preschool children as well. And while the kids are in school, we have like 14 school-age staff that, we can call on and say, hey, does anybody have any availability? even if they're only able to help half the day, it still helps close a big gap in terms of coverage. Now, here's something that could really work too. Incentives, they go a long way to encourage staff for reliability. So maybe offering bonuses or rewards for perfect attendance. That can really motivate your team to show up consistently. Even something small like an extra PTO day for consistent attendance can really make a huge difference. And it also will help those folks who do show up day after day and they're feeling exhausted because they're covering for the same 2 or 3 staff who literally call out once or twice a week with their weekly emergency. Incentivizing can really help take away a little bit of that sting for your team members who show up Monday through Friday when their shift is scheduled. Another thing you can do is partner with a substitute agency or a temp agency, and every state has one. Some are specific for childcare. Some may not be. They just may be temp services. But, maybe partnering with a staffing agency that specializes in early childhood education can really secure experienced substitutes for you when you're in a pinch. Now, I know the cost might be a bit more, but the benefit of having a pre-screened staff who are ready to step in at a moment's notice really does make it worth it, especially if you start losing families because of inconsistent staff. What does that cost you? Certainly much, much more than having a staffing agency, on board with sending you a vetted staff that you need right away. Let's talk about some out-of-the-box solutions. So maybe you have a parent volunteer emergency pool or a grandparent pool. Your parents, especially your trusted parents, they can really be part of your emergency volunteer pool, stepping in to help with maybe non-caregiving duties like greeting kids or setting up snacks or assisting with cleanup. They can't maybe be responsible for direct care unless they're, thoroughly trained and vetted, but they can support you in other ways, giving your staff the breathing room that they might need. Maybe they even just help in the office, answering the phones, answering the doors, freeing up the rest of your team who might be cross-trained. Now, there's also, I really like this one, job sharing. Job sharing is a flexible option where 2 staff members share one full-time position. This is really great for parents, students, or staff who need to adjust their schedules but still want to be part of the team. And this is really one of my favorite ones. And it can provide you with more flexibility and definitely reduce the chance of burnout. One of the reasons I like this too is if somebody leaves and they're job sharing, you only have to find someone to cover 20 hours of the week instead of 40. What happens when you have a full-time person that leaves? Especially if they're a good one. It takes you at least a month between hiring, onboarding, getting them, embedded into your culture, knowing the children, knowing the families, knowing their coworkers. That is at least a month at minimum. So, it's really much easier when you have that job sharing person. And sometimes they're able to step up during that 3 to 4 week period when you're onboarding a new team member. So it really is a lifesaver. It's one of my favorites. Also, I don't think that we always use this enough, but maybe AI-powered scheduling apps like Technology to the Rescue. Maybe you could use your tool like Brightwheel, Kangaroo Time, or ProCare to help you automate your scheduling and notify your floaters and substitutes when a shift opens up. And these apps can help you with shift swaps. They can help you track availability and also alert you of staff instantly, if somebody isn't in. And it will cut down that chaos from managing everything manually. So, use those scheduling features that are on the apps that so many of us are paying for and sometimes we don't use, myself included. I do not use my scheduling app on ProCare, but I really have been thinking a lot about it, and I think I'm going to do that. It also might help folks who have doctor's appointments or need to change in shift. Maybe they can work that out directly with their coworkers when they're able to look at the schedule, and everybody can look at the schedule and they can say, hey, would you mind switching with me? I'll come in earlier to this day so I can leave for my doctor's appointment. Could you cover my later shift? So again, anything that you can automate, go ahead and do it. Now, maybe you could even do a standby staff bonus. Consider offering standby staff bonuses, paying a small fee to staff who commit to being available on short notice. These standby staff members are there in case of an emergency call out, and it's a small investment for a much needed peace of mind. So that could be either somebody on your sub list. It could even be your typical staff, maybe an 8:30 to 5:30 person. But if I say, hey, I'll be on the standby list, meaning if somebody calls out at 6:30, you can call them and say, instead of coming in at 8:30, can you be there at 7? And they say yes. So if they're on that standby list, that means they're ready, up, and available to get to work by 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, whatever time you need them. And that makes it a lot nicer to have that in place. So, thinking outside of the box, you could even hire a virtual assistant, use those AI tools to handle those administrative tasks, freeing up your on-site admin to step into classrooms if necessary. And tasks like communication, scheduling, basic paperwork can be done remotely, allowing your team to focus on what matters most, the children. So let's put it all together. The key here is to be proactive. Start small. Choose 2 or 3 of these solutions that make the most sense for your center and see how they work for you. One of the most important things you can do is communicate openly with your staff and explain why these changes are happening and how it will benefit the whole team. Being flexible is key, and let your staff know you're all in this together. Keep a sub-binder or emergency plan on hand with classroom routines, child allergy information, and any other essentials. That way, if something unexpected happens, you're prepared and you can get your staff up to speed quickly. Guys, childcare is unpredictable, but your response doesn't have to be. With the right systems in place, you can stay in ratio, you can support your team, and keep your children safe, even on the toughest days. So I hope today's episode gave you some helpful tools in managing those callouts. If you have any tips or solutions that you've tried at your center, we'd love to hear from you. Send us a message on social media or shoot us an email. And don't forget to subscribe to the Childcare Director's Chair podcast. Leave us a review and share this episode with a fellow childcare provider who might need a little extra support in managing their schedules. Next week, we'll talk about some creative recruitment strategies to attract passionate educators. You don't want to miss that one. So thanks for listening and keep up the amazing work that you're doing. Have a great day.